This is of course Innova's new mid-range, the Fox, but in the Halo Star plastic. And after just a few throws, I think Innova has absolutely nailed the understable mid-range slot. The glide, the control, and that Halo Star plastic feel, this might just be my favorite disc of 2025. I love the Star version of this disc, but I'm hoping that Halo Star plastic adds a touch of stability to make it even more controllable in slightly windier conditions. Today we're going to be reviewing this disc, talking about hand feel, all the flight patterns, and comparing it up against the original Star version. By the time this video comes out, this disc will already be available at your dealers, so make sure you go and check out your local dealer to see if they have them in stock. I've only given this thing a few test throws, so let's give one a rip right now and see how it flies. Now let's see how it compares to the original Star version. We have a bit of a tailwind, so it might act a little bit more overstable than what you'd expect, but it shouldn't affect it that much. Wow, what a difference. I'm gonna go grab those discs, but right off the rip in those first two throws, you can already see that there's a little bit more added stability in that Halo Star plastic, which is exactly what I was looking for. Even though I love that the Star version has that beautiful turn and just a subtle fade right at the end of its flight, I was hoping to grab one that had just a touch more stability so that it can be a little bit more useful in windier conditions, kind of like today. If you know me, you also know that I love Halo Star plastic. To me, it's just the best feeling plastic. So I was pretty excited when I saw that they announced that these were coming out to dealers on October 20th, which means that you should be able to get one at your local dealer now. I'm gonna grab these discs and we're gonna throw them back into a headwind, see how they can handle it. Okay, heading back, we're going into a headwind now, so I'm gonna have to give these a bit more hyzer, but I'm still hopeful that this Halo Star version can handle that little bit of wind that we're facing. Okay, showed a lot more turn into that headwind. Gonna try and throw the Star one on the exact same angle so we get a good comparison. Release that a little bit flatter and a little bit lower, but it still showed a lot more turn. As we head back to grab those discs, if you're new to the channel, I just want to say welcome. You're now part of the Mod Squad, this amazing community that just loves disc golf. This channel in particular does disc reviews, equipment reviews, and all the other amazing things that are happening in our sport. We're now pushing 1,700 subscribers, so make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to this video. So first up, this Halo plastic looks absolutely incredible. I love how the contrast between the rim and the flight plate really stands out. Not to mention that I said before, Halo Star plastic is probably my favorite plastic in the Innova lineup, but it might be a tie with that Color Glow plastic that I just love in the Sexton Fibers. Either way, I find Halo Star to be a grippier version of the Star plastic, and of course it usually adds a bit of stability to the disc, which I think for an understable mid-range is essential for extra control. Comparing it to the Star version, there really isn't much difference in the sense of parting lines or dome. So you're still getting that amazing hand feel out of this disc. What I find super interesting about the Innova Fox in particular is that you can get fairway distance, but a little bit more control in this mid-range disc. Let's see how this disc handles hyzer angles and anhyzer angles, and then we'll get back into more about what I think about this disc, where it fits in the lineup, and whether or not you should bag it. First up, let's see how this thing handles a hyzer angle. Should be able to get it to flip up to flat, maybe show a bit of turn, but with this tailwind, it'll probably just hold that hyzer flip. Yep, hyzer flip, just a bit of turn, and then a very subtle fade at the end of its flight. Just for fun, let's throw the Star plastic on a hyzer angle so you can get a good comparison. Shows a lot more turn, but still fades gently at the end. They're very similar, but that Halo Star plastic definitely adds a bit of stability. I'm gonna go grab those, then we'll throw them on some anhyzers. Now let's see this thing on an anhyzer and see how that Halo Star plastic adds a bit more stability. Beautiful flight. Again, we're gonna compare that to the Star one just to see if there's any difference in that plastic. I'm already seeing a very subtle difference. I'm wondering if you can see it on camera. Just a bit more stability in that Halo Star plastic. Definitely a bit more stability in that Halo Star plastic. I'm gonna go grab those and then I'll give my final thoughts on this new Halo Star Fox. So as you saw with those flight paths, this disc is an awesome hyzer flip disc. You'll start out on that hyzer, flip up, and then push straight with just a very subtle fade at the end. What I found comparing it to the Star version is this has a little bit more stability. It has a bit more glide as well. This kept on going about 20 to 30 feet further than that other Star Fox. And for people who wanted to know distances, this is going about 330 to 340, whereas the Star version was going about 320-ish for me. Now with flight numbers 5, 6, -2, 1, this disc is definitely an understable mid-range, but it has a bit more control than, let's say, a Rollo or a Stingray, which of course are a little bit flippier. If you're a big fan of the Leopard 3, this is a mid-range version of that flight path, whereas I think you can get those Leopard 3s out to like 400. This can probably push about 350, and I think the reason why I'm getting a little bit of extra distance is just that touch more stability so that it fights out at the end, getting a better S-flight pattern. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more stable, you're probably looking at something like a Mako 3 or a Wombat 3. I did the original video on the Star Fox. I do a comparison of those discs, so I'll link it below so you can check it out and see which disc might be perfect for you. For me, this is immediately going into the bag as my understable mid-range option. I use a J for my straight to slightly stable shots, and then of course I have my Cayman for those overstable shots. So you're probably asking, who is this disc for? And the easy answer are those beginner players that are looking for a disc that's easy to throw, that'll still give them lots of distance. Because this is slightly understable, folks that don't have the power or the speed will be able to get this disc to flip up to flat or get a little bit more flight out of an S-flight pattern. It'll be easy distance, and it's a disc that you can learn a bunch of different shot shapes on. For intermediate players, I think this is a great option for wooded courses especially. The hyzer flip to make it go straight just makes this disc super accurate. For advanced or pro players, this disc is probably more on that roller range for you, but that being said, it is a pretty awesome roller, and with that, let's throw it on a roller line. What a fantastic roller disc. I know the grass is a little bit long, so it kind of cut up some of the distance there, but if you're learning how to throw rollers, you need to find yourself an understable disc, just like the Innova Fox. That pretty much wraps up this review of the Innova Fox and Halo Star plastic. It is immediately going into my bag, and it's one of my favorite discs of 2025 because it is so much fun to throw. It's an easy flyer, you can hyzer flip, you can do long turnovers. It's a super versatile disc that's easy to control. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment below if there's some other reviews that you'd like me to do. I'll catch you in the next one, and as always, get out and throw.